Hey guys, welcome back. This is video 8 in our Homeschool Bravely series. Alright guys, welcome back. I'm Laura Wilkie with Down Home with Lemon Pie. I am a Christian stay-at-home homeschool mama of 7, and I am going through this book right now, guys, with you. It is Homeschool Bravely, How to Squash Doubt, Trust God, and Teach Your Child with Confidence by Jamie Erickson. I'm giving you my commentary, and if you haven't already, if you're just joining us, I do recommend that you grab this book as well. It is available on Amazon or wherever you want to get your favorite books, but it is something you're going to want to have on your bookshelf. You're going to want to reference it, and I call it my highlighter book because I have been going through it with my personal highlighter, like I said, and it will be on my personal bookshelf as well. So you're going to want to do it too. We are on chapter 8, which is the last chapter of part 2 in this book. This book is divided into 3 parts, roughly 4 chapters in each part. I believe part 3 has 5 chapters, and we are on the last chapter of that part. And this part, this whole section is called The Struggle, and this is the last one. So if you missed any of these videos, I do recommend you go back and watch them, listen to them. You don't even have to watch them. You can just listen to them like a podcast. And yeah, you will get so much wisdom and encouragement from this book. Also, this is actually my 4th book to go through with you guys, so I am excited to share that with you guys. If you want to go back and check out some other playlists I've done in the past, I do also have the book Hidden Art of Homemaking that we went through last year, and it was so rich with good homemaking things. If you are, maybe your mom wasn't a stay-at-home mom, or maybe you just really want to learn more about it, it is so good, so full of good materials and ideas, so go check that one out. The next one that we also did was M is for Mama, which is so good for moms, just moms in general. You don't even have to be a homeschool mom, but it is by a homeschool mom, but it's so good as well. And then we also did Godschooling, which is very similar to this one. So if you are really enjoying this and you really want to see what God can do in your homeschool, or what he is already doing, and how you can kind of let go of some of that anxiety and the reins that you are trying to control, Godschooling is going to help you with that. So that is another one that I highly, highly recommend. So with that being said, let's jump right into chapter 8. It is called One Crazy Day from Crisis. I feel like we can all relate. Just to the title alone, we can all relate that sometimes homeschool feels like we are just one day away from losing our minds, right? Or losing control of the entire ship that we're trying to maneuver in our homeschools. And she starts off with this little story about her son, and they've done the caterpillar, raising it to a butterfly, and they are ready to see the caterpillar come out and become a butterfly. And it is struggling. If you've ever done that, if you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. If you have done it, you know that when it is coming out of the little, we called it a cocoon in my day. They don't call it that anymore. But when it's coming out of that, it is starting to struggle. And it's having a problem, and it kind of has to grow in that. And she talks that through the whole thing here. And she says that she told her son, because he was getting really nervous about the health and concerned about his caterpillar here that was changing into a butterfly. And she says, she told her son he needs to build his muscles. And she says, it was a simple explanation for what I knew to be true. She says at the top of page 102, there was a point to the struggle. It was God designed, and it's in the pushing and the pulling that butterflies constrict their abdomens, allowing a yellowish blood called hemolymph to fill their wing veins. Without that transfer of blood, the abdomen would be too heavy and the wings would never be able to fully extend. Watching this struggle, though, as a bystander was difficult. But I knew the struggle would help our butterfly grow into what it was supposed to be. So you can already see where she's going with this chapter, right? I'm sure you can already see the similarities to our own lives. She goes on to say, you can't always opt out of the struggle for you or your child. Sometimes you have to sit in the discomfort of it for your own good and for theirs. More often than not, there's a someday point to the pain of right now. Exactly. Struggle seems to be the common denominator of humanity. You might be only one crisis away from crazy, and you can't see how you can keep school spinning any longer. Absolutely. Who hasn't been there, right? But what's interesting, I think, is that even though we've all been there, it seems like more often than not, one of two things happens. You either silently within yourself give up completely. You decide you're not good at it, you can't do it, whatever, and you just stop. Or you pretend it's going super well and nobody ever kind of talks about the struggles. I feel like that is very often the case. Or if you do, you are talking about it in a way that is leading you towards stopping. And she says, Christ's best moments of teaching are wrapped in chaos too. This is something that I thought, I put a little star by this because I thought this is so good. And it's actually something I hadn't really put together with our homeschool world. But listen to how she phrases this. It's so good. She says, when this is talking about when Jesus was trying to teach people. In crowded homes along the lake shore, even in the house of God, Jesus was familiar with messy living. He had to teach stubborn people who refused to listen. He fought to be heard over crying babies and noisy animals. The smell of dirty diapers was masked by the pungent fog of rotting fish being washed ashore at his feet. Can you even imagine? Okay, yeah. Okay. He was surrounded by needy people pressing in on him, clinging to him. Yes. I know as a homeschool mom of 7, as a mom who at one point had 6 children under the age of 7, as a mom who once had multiple toddlers. I have a set of twins, if you don't know. Multiple toddlers, all wanting my attention, preschoolers all wanting my attention, a newborn all wanting my attention, all at the same time. I can relate to this so much. So in this chapter, she is going to give us some awesome ideas, things that we have done in our home, some things that are new to us, but ways that you can ensure that your children are still growing and learning, and you can feel confident in that. Yeah. Okay. So I've done some other videos. I'm just going to throw this out there. I will link some other videos below this and in the comments section or in the description. And if you want to know more about how it looked specifically for our family, go check those videos out and I will go through all of that with you. So she says, still he taught. This is very important. He used these very circumstances as life lessons. He used them to teach hard things in gentle ways. I have said this so many times. Our children are learning so many life skills when we think that we're not getting to their lessons. Okay, they're learning so much. They're learning how to deal with kindly with children. They're learning how to juggle multiple things going on at the same time. They're learning so much how to run a household. But sometimes because of the world, especially if you were a public school kid like I was, you feel if you have not checked all the boxes, you haven't done every problem on the paper, you haven't done every page in the book, or you didn't finish the book or whatever, you feel like a failure. You do. And so I get it. I get it. Yeah, but we forget that the children are learning through all of that, and God is ensuring that so much. So she says it's easy to get upset at God for the struggles of this world, for the difficulties of your life, including homeschool. You're human. Doubt comes with the flesh. But, there's always a but, right? But aren't you so glad that you can't always figure out God's plans and his ways? I love this. I wouldn't want to serve a God that I, of all people, could figure out. I'm not always happy with unanswered questions, but I am content with my ignorance. His ways are much higher than my understanding. so good and so true. Okay, on the next page, 104. Sometimes, though, the dark days bring about the biggest blessings. Yes, absolutely. And we sometimes don't see those until years later. Okay, I'm sure you can think of situations in your life when you were thinking at the moment, this is horrible, but later you're thinking, oh, this led to this and this led to this, and wow, right? Okay. She says, let's see, it's often in the struggles that we find the best things of life. Birth from birth pains, freedom from war, gold medals from years of grueling work and self-denial. I found treasures even on that dark day. Yes. She says, gives us Isaiah 45:3. I will give you the treasures of darkness and the hoards in secret places, that you may know that it is I, the Lord, the God of Israel, who call you by your name. The treasures of darkness and the hoards in secret places. I like it. A little farther down, she says, he chiseled away at my impatience, selfishness, and my pride to make me more like him. But when all was said and done, I was one step closer to the completed me. I may have ended the day feeling mentally wounded, but I was also spiritually grateful. My home is not immune to struggle. Homeschool. Yeah. And again, that's something so many people don't talk about. I talk about it, but I feel like so many people kind of skip over this, especially in a world like we have with social media, where there's so many perfect pictures, perfect views, perfect whatevers of homeschool, and sometimes that's not exactly good. It's not always good for us only to see the good things. Sometimes we need to see the hard things and the disasters and so on and so forth. I talk about that a lot in our homeschool videos. I talk about things that we started and they didn't work, things that we changed, things that we didn't like that everybody else loves. I talk a lot about that. So anyway, she says they all recognize their need. Okay, so here she's talking about let me see. Yeah, she has a friend. So she had her father had passed away, and her friend lost their son, their 2-year-old son, and just talking about what a struggle it was to try to maintain homeschool during those times. And I don't necessarily think you need to maintain homeschool. If you take months off because of a tragedy such as this, I don't think you need to try to hold on to that. I can understand wanting to keep a routine of sorts, but I don't think you need to hold on to trying to keep your schedule, because there's something to be said also that your kids are learning how to deal with those situations. And that's what she's talking about in that next section. She says, if you're in a similar season of struggle or chaos, don't be ashamed to undertake the bare minimum. Absolutely. I've said this many, many times. If you are struggling with a challenging pregnancy, or just pregnancy in general, if you have a newborn, if you are moving, if you have some tragedy that has struck your life, it is okay to step back. And I have, like I said, videos where I talk about things and recommend things that you can do that will make it feel, because for me personally, I had to feel like we were still doing something. So I came up with all kinds of things that we were still doing. And I'm going to talk about some of those here in just a minute, but I talk about them even more in some of those other videos. She says, ask yourself, if my kids only finish one subject today, what do I hope it will be? Very good. For me, often it was the history. I don't know why, but it was always felt like that was kind of the driving force in our homeschool. And I felt like, reading we can always catch up, and math we can always catch up, but the history, I felt like we needed to stay on track. And so for me personally, if we got nothing else done, as long as we got history done, I felt like we were moving forward, because I knew that each school year we would move to a new time period, and I wanted that to keep going in that direction. I didn't want it to carry over. And so I knew that these other subjects like reading and math, could carry over for multiple years. So for me personally, history was the one that I wanted to make sure we did. Sometimes if we had to read aloud, I wanted to make sure we did that because I didn't want those to just sit and get forgotten. For you, though, it may be just the basics. It may just be reading and math or writing or whatever. And that's okay too. She says the thought of completing even one whole lesson, seemed unrealistic. If that's the case, she says, pick a few specific skills within that subject to practice instead. For example, if introducing long division today is not possible, just review regular division for a bit and have your child rehearse subtraction facts. Both skills will eventually combine to form the foundation of long division. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times when we were struggling with moving or a new baby or a difficult twin pregnancy or something like that, that I would just tell the kids, for math today, I just want you guys to get flashcards and quiz each other. And that was fine. That's okay. But we always think that it's not, and it is. Yeah, she says you're greasing the wheel for the day when life returns to normal, and you can go back to those normal lessons. Correct. Let's see. I like the next part too. If you, like my friend, found yourself bouncing from this doctor's appointment to that consultation, create a mobile classroom or by packing a school on the go bag. Yes, we did not have this exact situation with doctor's appointments, but we have had days and sometimes months or weeks when we were just moving from one activity to another. And sometimes it was things that we had to go to that were out of our control. And I would just do this same thing, like she says, a mobile classroom. Audiobooks, huge way to do that. There's so many free ones too, or even really cheap ones like classics that you can get on Chirp, and it's so easy to just pop those on and listen to them. Podcasts are another thing that she doesn't actually recommend this, but I highly recommend the podcast because there are so many good educational ones specific to homeschoolers. And things about historical biographies, little just whatevers, and they're so good. There's Christian ones, there's so many, and they're really good. She says she would pack educational board games, documentaries to watch. She would probably get those, maybe she bookmarked them on YouTube or something. I'm not sure. I don't know how you would pack all that. Historical biographies, yep. Current events, yep. Simple handwork. She talks about paint by number, needlepoint, yeah, all of this stuff. But see, we think that that's just like passing their time. We don't always think that that's homeschool or that school can be done in the car, because it totally can. And yeah, it's not ideal, of course, but it can totally be done. Let's see. Okay, later she's talking about some doctor's appointments she was having to go to, and it was taking her back and forth to a big city. Okay, my husband, we had this as well. And my husband also had a period of time where he was traveling a lot, and the kids were young enough that we would just go with them. And something that she recommends, which we also did, was she got one of the museum passes, like the family pass, but it's also good at multiple museums. And in her case, it sounds even better. It was good for historical sites and museums as well, and zoos. So we've done this too. And when my husband would go to work, when we would go with him, we would tag along on a work trip. This is when they were little, and we only had 3 and at the time, but we would tag along a lot of times, and we would have that museum pass. He would go to work in the morning, and we would go off to a museum. We'd pack a little lunch that we picked up, and we would just spend the day there and do whatever. And then we'd look up and find some fun parks. And when Daddy got home from work, we'd grab lunch or our dinner, and then we'd go hit the park, and then we'd be back at the hotel, which the kids thought was super fun. And it was a way for us to stay together when he had to be on a work trip for a week at a time. And you can do the same kind of thing. She's, in her example, talking about lots of day trips to the big city around their state. And so they would just pop into all these places, and absolutely 100% that counts as school. Yes. And, if you still feel like you need to do more, then you can do a little reading or math in the evenings when you get back. But this kind of stuff is so good and so rich for our kids. Yeah, She says, this is really cool. Once we even went to an organic international market to grab some snacks, and we wandered around the entire store and counted the simple shopping trip as school because my kids had never been to a store like that before. Yep. School doesn't have to be hard. Homeschool does not have to be hard. We're told that it does. We're told that it has to be this and that, and it has to look a certain way, and it has to have this. We're told that, and it's not true. It's not true. It doesn't need to look like the public schools. Like I've said before, if the public school model worked, why are we homeschooling? So it doesn't need to look like that. We want our kids to have these real life experiences, and they don't need to just be in the evenings and weekends. They can be your school day. We went to a dairy farm, and multiple times to several dairy farms actually over the years, and that was our whole school day. That was all we did. There were other things that we've done, lots of fun stuff like that, and that counts as school. They're learning, and you can even stop and point out some things if you really want to make it super educational. You can, I know people who would go to the zoo, and then they would tell their kids, like, give them like an assignment, and they had to fill out this form with all these facts about animals. And we don't do that. I just say we're at the zoo, enjoy yourselves. But I know that if you want to make it more, then make it more. You can do that. I don't think you need to do that, but you can. Okay, the bottom of page 107, or the middle of page. Let's see. She's talking here about basically letting go and just letting, not holding on so tight to your homeschool and your homeschool plans. Here at the bottom, she's talking about a more interest-led education, a project-based learning, strewing, just project-based learning, she says, encourages a child to create, experiment, or build something in order to discover more about a particular topic. Yep. She references here, if you give a mouse a cookie, it's a similar kind of pattern. One topic leads to the next, which leads to the next, like a farmer strewing seeds in a field. All you have to do, for both delight-directed and project-based learning, is toss out a few ideas and interesting items and watch the child's natural curiosity take form. Yes. So here she's talking next about her son. He liked Legos, and this is related to what I was just talking about. So he always wanted to play Legos, so she would put headphones and ask him to listen to a kid-friendly podcast or audiobook app while he played Legos. Isn't that genius? It's so simple. And eventually he would find topics that he liked. He would listen to them, and he would find topics. Then he would look them up at the library, and she goes through all the little process here. But eventually he was researching and doing things on his own, simply because of that little nudge from doing something he already wanted to do, and she just kind of added something to it. Absolutely. I have a lot of Lego kids as well, and often that's what they'll do. While I'm reading our history lesson or science or whatever, they will play Legos or magnet blocks or whatever and build these crazy things, marble runs, whatever, and they're still listening. Actually, when we studied Titanic last year, we had such a good time. We did it through with campfire curriculums. It was so good. And one of my kiddos who struggles with, I would call it, traditional school stuff, just took off and loved learning about the Titanic. He wanted to watch all the videos I would find on YouTube. He found a book about Titanic and read all the facts. He just loved it. And that's what she's talking about. They start to do that, and it's good. Not every child is going to learn the same way. So it's okay. That was something I had to learn as a homeschool mom, that it's okay to let them have these little things where they learn differently, okay? Where this kid needs to write it down in story form or facts. This one needs to draw a picture. This one's going to build it instead. That's okay. That's okay. I have a kiddo that loves building things on Minecraft, and we have built the tabernacle. When we studied the tabernacle, we have built pyramids. We have built, there's actually a something on Minecraft, and they can actually have the Revolutionary War, and they can be a soldier in the war, and it's already created, and they fight, and it has the two sides. And so I let them play that when we studied the Revolutionary War. And there's just so many things out there that our kids want to do, but here we are wanting them to sit down and do it this way, right? So next she gives us a ton of ideas. This is why you need to buy this book, because I cannot go through all of these ideas, but she gives us several pages here of ideas and things that your kiddos can do to help spark their ideas. Some of these we've done: write a pen pal, geocaching, video, stop motion videos. We did that with a free stop motion app for a while with Legos. That was fun. Adopt a missionary family. Personally, that really touches my heart, so I love that one. I had a son recently, out of the clear blue sky, got interested in magic tricks, like card tricks and things, and different kinds of magic tricks. So he just ran with that and started learning that. I had a girl, one of my daughters, my oldest daughter, ran with learning hair braiding, and now almost daily does her hair in these very elaborate braid hairstyles, and they're very fancy, and I am amazed every time. I'm like, wow, she learned that. Was part of her homeschool time. She learned that. She taught herself how to do that, and people are always complimenting her. Embroidery, gardening, fort making, scavenger hunts for a younger sibling. My big kids do that all the time. I have one of my twins loves to be the chef of the day. She loves to do that. Paper airplanes. There's so many ideas here. Shadow dad at work for a day. We used to do that a lot. My husband used to own his own business. He doesn't anymore, but he owned his own construction business, and he would take several of the kids with him to work, and they loved it. They loved it so much, and they would learn so much, and they would get to use tools, and they would talk about whatever he was doing, and he would show them, and it was cool. Presentations, free presentations, workshops at the library. Yep. Our library has access to, you just have to go in and sign up, and you can get access to like 3D printing machines. You can get access to so many apps and things that are available for people who have a library card. And then they also do little like workshops and presentations. They do them on space and on all kinds of things, and you can just learn whatever. Probably if you live in a school or in a city that has a college, they have something similar as well. Create secret codes. Yes, my kids, when we were studying World War II and we were talking a lot about codes and things, my kids started creating their own spy codes, and that was fun. They wrote notes to each other. Have them plan the grocery list. There's so many things here. I laugh because we're a big family. I laugh at the last one. Double the ingredients of a cookie recipe and bake a large batch, because I feel like every recipe we double and bake a large version of, and so that's not actually a new idea for us, but it just made me laugh because we're a large family. Okay, moving on. Homeschooling can actually create calm in your current chaos like this. Yes, absolutely. A lot of it is that we are trying to make it too much like school, like public school. And it's not supposed to be that way. The beauty of homeschooling is that our kids can grow in things that they love and their interests, and they can learn so much when we back off. And not saying that they don't need to do the basics or the other subjects or whatever, but we can do it and present it in a way that is more interesting, more appealing to their specific personality and their specific way of learning. Yeah. So she says, this is on page 112, pray he resurrects, she's talking about God, pray he resurrects your love for your children, your calling, your commitment, and remember that this moment doesn't define your entire homeschool. You are more than your worst days. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Nothing is ever too far gone for his redemptive power. He's always working, even when it doesn't seem like it. He might seem complacent or sedentary, but he's not. Following God's will to teach your children at home doesn't mean everything will go exactly as you have planned, but it will go. This is important. I hope you're listening. Write this down. It will go exactly as he has planned. Absolutely. This is where that other book that I told you I did that one already is called Godschooling, and it is so good. It's going to hit on a lot of those topics. So, John 16:33, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Yep. Failure is part of the deal of living. Don't deprive your struggling one of failure. That's how he'll grow. That's how he'll learn. No one ever learns nearly as much from the good stuff of life. We all learn when we're allowed to try and fail and get back up again. It's hard to watch the struggle, especially when help is within reach. But remember this, God didn't miss a stitch when he knit your child together. It's so good and so true. Okay, stay with me. This is the very last paragraph of this chapter. It's so good. It definitely took some struggle. She's talking about the butterfly from the beginning of this video, the beginning of this chapter, that was struggling to get out of his little cocoon. And she says it definitely took some struggle, but eventually its wings did what they were designed to do. This is so important. They flew. Had my son or I helped, had we removed any part of that difficult process, the butterfly would surely have died. The struggle was necessary. Christ's struggle was necessary. And perhaps your struggle is also necessary. So good, guys. So good. If you haven't already, do grab your own copy, guys. It's so good. We're going to start part 3 next week, the solution. And we have 5 chapters in that. I am so glad to go through this with you guys. Thanks for watching.